and welcome to Blokes Unfiltered. Now, just a warning, if you're seeking professional help, then this is not a podcast for you. This is a podcast where we cut through the bullshit and get real about men's mental health, life as we know it, and the world we're living in today. There's no filters, there's no fluff, just real talk. We're Adam and Aaron, and we're just two blokes sitting around talking shit and having a laugh about everyday issues that affect us blokes, and everyone is too scared to talk about them. So if you're easily offended, I strongly suggest you switch off now. But if you're not, then grab a cold one, sit back and have a laugh with us. Morning, Adam. Happy Saturday. How are you? How's your week been?
Yeah, pretty good, mate. What about you?
Yeah, good week this week, mate. I did 8Ks yesterday morning. You'll be pleased to know.
Well, that's fantastic. 8 kilometers of pavement and punishment.
I ran Narrabeen Lagoon. It was much nicer. It's a bit like a trail, yeah.
Yeah, right. There's probably some not bad things to look at running around that lagoon either.
Not at 4 o'clock in the morning, mate. There's nothing. But I'm a dog in front of me.
Whatever you're into, I suppose. Like, I can't judge, can I?
No, you can't, mate. This is a place of no judgment.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. Mate, I just thought rather than doing the number thing this week, we'd just jump into a topic that's been very prevalent in a lot of my sessions that I've done this week. And that is being a victim compared to a victor.
Yeah.
And so do you understand what I mean about being a victim?
Yeah. You know, it's basically when something happens to you, getting in the victim mindset, which is, this is hard. Why me? Why is this happening to me? All that sort of stuff instead of, focusing on the positives. It's focusing on the negatives, and not finding a positive, because there's always a positive.
Mm-hmm. Good. And if you say the word victim, right, who do you think is in charge if you're a victim?
Other people, not you.
Correct. And if you say the word victor, who's in charge?
The big dog.
Okay, which is?
Me.
Just a clarification, some people might not know who the big dog is, right?
Oh, yeah. I am the big dog.
But this is, I get in terms of for men's mental health, but also in terms of women, anybody can use this, this process themselves, because a lot of people default to negative. It's just a natural default that we default into the negative side of everything that's going on in our lives.
Yeah, it's almost programmed into you, I would say. Looking at all the bad stuff, this is happening, your mortgage is late. I was speaking to a guy just yesterday, actually. And, he had his own business. He'd had some heart issues. His mortgage, because he was in hospital for 3 months with his heart issues. And then he couldn't pay his mortgage. So he couldn't pay his mortgage, and he couldn't pay his rent for his shop, for his business. And he's very lucky he had a family member step in and take over from him. But he got out of hospital, and then his chest collapsed, went back into hospital, and he was defeated, all of this stuff and like that. That's quite a lot of stuff to deal with. That's hard, and there's some stuff in there that's out of your control. But you just got to keep pushing through. You just can't. You can never give up. That's the mindset, is just never give up.
Yeah, but in order to do that, what have you got to focus on?
We got to focus on what you can do, what you're in control of, and yourself.
Yeah.
And to have a good understanding of not letting external things, affect you. But I think it's also you need to understand that it is a normal reaction, and to some extent, you're still going to have that. But when you do have that, the victim mentality starts to take over. You just need to be aware of it so you can pull yourself back out and say, this is not valuable. This is not going to get me anywhere. It makes things worse, and you feel worse about yourself, and it makes the problems worse because you're just letting them compound. And there's some ways to deal with that, which are, they're pretty easy to talk about. And you just got to put them in place, and it's consistency. It's like anything.
Yeah. And it's very easy. Like what you focus on is what you get more of, right? And
Yeah.
what people tend to do is focus on all the negative things that are coming out of other people's mouths or, situations that they're in, but they don't actually look at the flip side because you can't have a negative without a positive. It's not possible.
No, there's always good in every situation. It's just
Hmm.
it's finding the good in the situation and not submitting yourself to, this is bad and it's just going to get worse, and there's no point even trying to do this because it's fucked. And, it's just the way that it is.
Mhm.
And you've always got something that you can change or something that you can do better. And you just need to lock onto that, you
Mm.
know.
Yeah. I mean, even myself, like I had a big realization this week that I was being a victim in terms of, my own fitness levels and my own health levels, right? And I was like, oh, because of this, then, like I'm allowed to do this and do that and do this and do that. And I just went down this negative spiral, right? But I guess for myself, I've got that training where it goes, well, how long are you going to sit in your pity party for, mate? Like, how long do you want to keep going down this route?
It's funny. I've had similar stuff this week as well, and uh, normally I don't drink during the week, and I found myself a couple of nights this week having a few beers, and then I call them fake beers as well. I got obviously beer, and then I just got like the cans of sparkling flavored water.
Yeah, yeah.
I have a couple of beers, and then I think, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Fake beer time. But it's catching yourself, and um it's like previously, years ago, once I got into that mindset and I just go, I'll have a couple of beers, because it helps you
Mhm.
relax, I'd have 12 beers, whereas, now it happens and I have two and then I realize, okay, now this is not the path that I want to go down and you stop drinking. But especially, I find if you do use drinking to try and deal with it, it just makes the next day harder,
Mhm.
and the drinking really affects your cognitive ability and your reasoning and all that sort of stuff.
And so
Um,
when you think
Really
about
bad.
drinking, though, right, you're drinking to overcome the problem, right? But
Um,
drinking doesn't overcome the problem. It doesn't solve the problem because the
no,
problem's still there.
yeah, 100% it does.
Yeah.
100% it does. But I guess the point that I'm trying to get at is I looked at that instead of saying to myself, oh, it got hard. You had a bit of a hard week or some hard stuff happened, and you just turned to having a couple of beers to sort of you know forget about it for a bit. Um, I said to myself, well, I had a couple of beers, but I caught myself, and instead of having 12, I had two, and
Hmm.
like that's positive, right?
Yep. Hmm.
That's good.
Hmm.
I'm happy with that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You know.
But then with the problems, what did you do differently?
Um, I deal with them like I do with everything. So I just try and be really rational about it and go, okay, there's a problem. Instead of sitting around and thinking about it and thinking, okay, this has happened, that's happened, and it's going to get worse if this happens, all that sort of stuff. Um, I just I put out some put aside some time, a little bit of a planning session for myself.
Hmm.
And I'll sit down, with the problems. This has got to happen. I've got to do this. This has happened. I'll make a plan and then I'll use my calendar, to if I've got to, do this on this date or do this on this date, I've got to organize something. Because a lot of time I do this planning thing on the weekend. So, there's some if you're having to deal with, you know, government places or something like that, like
Hmm.
RMS, for example, um, they're not open, you can't talk to them. So I'll sit down and I'll plan all the stuff out. I'll do the stuff that I can, and then I'll make a plan for what I can't do or I need to do. And then I'll put that in my diary. And the way I use my diary, it's got reminders and they pop up, and then I just as the reminders pop up, I just do them, and I'm not worrying about the problem anymore. I'm just working to the plan.
So you're working on the solution rather than the problem, right? We know that the
Yeah,
problem is the problem
yeah,
or the challenge. Let's sort it a challenge rather than a problem, right? Because a challenge we are naturally driven to overcome.
yeah,
A problem will sit in a problem.
yeah. And it just spiral out of control, that.
Hmm.
And you also need to you need to change your mindset as well. Like but when you do this, it's very helpful in doing that. Um, and once you start doing that, you your mindset goes, well, I can sort of fix anything.
Hmm.
There's not really problems anymore.
Hmm.
There's hurdles, there's things
Hmm.
that are annoying.
Yeah.
But yeah, we can, whatever it is, I can fix it, no problem,
Yeah. And some
I
of the
it
hurdles are bigger than others, right? Because, if we talk about, I don't know, like, I mean, separation or divorce or anything like that, right? They can be quite big, or financial stress, they can be quite big, right? They can seem, well, how the hell am I going to get over this, right?
Yeah,
This,
well, stuff with your kids. I would say the hardest stuff is, like financial stuff to me is, yeah, yeah, but it's the stuff, yeah, the stuff that you're emotionally tied to, like like your kids,
Mhm.
That's the hard thing where you really get sucked into that mindset, and you can stay in that mindset, and this is hard. I was speaking to a bloke just yesterday as well. Speak to a lot of blokes. I get around. It's what I do.
Yeah, yeah.
And
You're a
he was
blokey
talking,
bloke though, right?
yeah, he was talking about separation and how he's an older dude, and when I say older, it's probably 50 or something,
Hmm.
older than me. And he was saying, a lot of guys, yeah, they go through the separation, and because it is so hard and it's so emotionally taxing, they just give up. They go to the bottle,
Hmm.
and then they end up doing bad things to themselves, and not being of this earth anymore.
Hmm.
And that's ultimately where it can end up,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's easy to get there. It's harder not to get there.
Yeah.
I would say, in like, if you're dealing with that sort of thing, it's very easy to get into that mindset and into that position where you're just defeated. But um, yeah, you just need to tell yourself that you're a fucking animal, and you can do anything,
Hmm.
and you just need to start. If you're having, if you're in that position and you're having that mindset, you need to change it immediately. I think
And it's,
starting to
you
tell
know,
yourself stuff like, I'm a fucking weapon, I've got
yeah.
this,
And it
and
is it is coming from that inner voice, right? That inner critic that says, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, I'm not capable. They're kind of the three woundings that we've got as males that sort of says, oh, I just can't do this, mate. I can't do this anymore. It's ridiculous. It's just one
yeah,
thing after another, and I'm just defeated.
yeah, and it's when you're going through something that's difficult, you need to, you see the pattern, right? And it's, as you're saying, if it is one thing after another, you need to recognize that pattern and then accept the pattern's not going to change.
Hmm.
So you can't do anything about the pattern. That's out of your control. But what can you do?
Hmm.
You can plan, you can take action on your plans, you can make things happen. You can do the stuff that's in your control. You can make sure that your mindset is in a place where you're not affected by, the onslaught of, things one, two, three, four, just happening one after the other. Um, and you can also be aware that you're going to have days where, you're not going to react perfectly, but you need to be able to pull yourself out of it.
Once again, probably coming back to your theme is
Yeah, boundaries and self-respect.
self-respect.
Well, as I was saying that, and you were talking about the inner talk. I was speaking to another bloke
Hmm.
very recently, and it was talking, we were talking about talking to women,
Hmm.
and he was saying, "Oh, I don't really want to do that. I can't do that. I can't do this." And I said to him, "Do you know the reason why you think that you can't do it?" He's like, "Why?" And I said, "It's because your inner talk's shit, and it's just absolutely crushing your confidence.
Hmm.
You." if you actually looked at yourself for yourself in the mirror, like you're a pretty good looking rooster, you got your shit together, um, you're a good dude too, like a genuinely good dude. That's what you should be saying to yourself,
Mhm.
and you start saying that sort of stuff to yourself and just watch how your confidence changes by itself. And then you can walk into a room with confidence and you don't give a fuck because you're the man, right?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
if someone wants to talk to you, cool. If they don't want to talk to you, cool. Doesn't matter, you
Mhm.
know?
Yeah. Yeah, and I agree with that 100%. But it's also that kind of, when you've been battered down that much with all of these bad things that are happening, you kind of lose your confidence in yourself, right?
Well, you start believing it.
Correct. Right. And you've been told by so many people that you're not good at something, or you're not this, or you're not that, or you're not this, and you start listening to that, and you're fucked, mate. You really are. Like,
Yeah.
right? And it's consistent because you keep taking it on board, right? And I met a guy this week that I was talking to, and he had his performance review at work, and they came up with three negatives and about seven positives, right? But he just went into the negatives. I'm not good at this. I'm not good at that. I'm not good at this. Therefore, they're not going to want to keep me. I'm like, but what about all the other things they said about you, right? They were really good things that they said, right? They can't do without you. You're a great guy. You're good to have around. You're brilliant, right? But there's a few things about your work you're not good at. Well, he just focused on the things he wasn't good at, right? And then instead of going, well, how do I become better at it, creating the plan, he just went down a negative spiral that just started thinking, I'm not good. They want to sack me. I'm like, none of that said they wanted to sack you.
No, and that self-talk is just horrible,
Mm.
and it just crushes your confidence. And he's looking to see all the bad things that people say about him.
Mhm.
You just
Which is tough, right? Because he already believes that about himself. That's the problem.
Yeah, and you that's if you're in that sort of mindset, the best thing you can do is sit down with yourself and work out who you are,
Hmm.
right? And then, this goes back to not giving a fuck what other people think or say about you because once you realize or once you work out who you are, like, this guy's talking to the other day, you got your shit together, you're a good looking dude, you're a really, really good dude.
Hmm.
Anybody who says anything to you, that goes against that, you're just like, well, that's not true. So,
And if you
that's
look about that, the people that are saying that stuff, it's generally the people that want to bring you down because they see something in you that they're threatened by or they don't like, or they're worried or jealous of themselves that they don't have that.
yeah.
So they want to
Yeah.
bring you down to their level and you actually oblige and you go, yeah, okay, I'll come down to your level then. I'm not that good.
And a lot of the time that person themselves will be a victim,
Hmm.
and they'll taking that victim, their victim mindset out on you,
Hmm.
and then yeah, trying to bait you into it because the victim thing as well to some level, it needs reassurance and it needs validation. So if they can bring you down to their level and get you to engage in a argument or disagreement or something like that, then well, that validates their position as a victim, you
Hmm.
know,
Yeah.
um, which is just shit. And there's a lot of assholes out there, and you just got to be really fucking aware, you know.
But it was
Somebody
funny
when
actually. I jumped on a call with a guy the other day, and the guy I hadn't spoken to for a while, right? And it was just like he was just vomiting all this kind of like sad sack story on me. I'm like, oh, about this and that. I'm not feeling that well, and I'm this. And I'm like, have you finished, mate? Like, have you finished feeling sorry for yourself yet, or what? And he just went, oh, what? I said, do you want me to record and play back to you what you just said? Like, you're just vomiting this whole negativity onto other people. And he just
yeah.
went, oh shit, you're right. Wow. I didn't realize that. I said, every time we talk, you are so negative about everything. There's something wrong. There's this, there's that, there's this, there's that. What about all the good things that happened to you? What about like the golf game you played and you won the competition the other day? What about this? And what about that? And what about this? You went, oh, yeah, you're right. I said, but you just choose to vomit on me every time we get on a call.
You do all this good shit, and and then you focus on all the bad stuff. And there's a thing that's been going around, and it's like, um, yeah, it's like, if you had whatever $10,000 and somebody took $1 off you, would you then throw that $10,000 away because there's $1 taken?
Mm.
And then that's applied to like the day. There's, whatever, so many seconds in a day, 10,000 seconds. So if somebody takes 6 seconds away from your day, and it makes it shit, does that ruin the rest of the day for you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You wouldn't throw away the money. So why would you throw away the time?
Yeah.
And time's more valuable than money.
So, okay, well, if that's kind of where people might be at, what are some things that they could do differently?
Yeah. So if you were, in that victim mindset, I think it's really important to figure out who you are, and what you're about, what you stand for, how you want to be seen by others, what your goals are, and be really clear on that. So, first of all, you're clear on that, your direction, and where you're going and what you want to do. And if anybody says to you, you do this or you do that, then you just, okay, it's not true. And then, if there's things happening to you, that are piling up, and you're sort of looking, thinking, oh, there's no way out of this, it just keeps piling up. It's just going to be easy to give up. It is easier to give up, but the what will happen if you give up is way worse than if you just push through it. And the way that I push through it is as I said earlier, is the planning thing. So I'll go, okay, fuck, I've got 10 things here that are pretty shitty. I got to work through them, and I'll, like a to-do list. I'll go one by one. All right, sort this out. That goes in the diary. I've got to do this on this day. I've got to get back to this person. I've got to find out this information so I can do this. Bang. Item number 2, same thing. I've got to pay this on this date. You've got to pay this. I don't have enough cash flow at the moment to be able to pay that bill. So how am I going to do this? Okay, well, if I do this, and I stretch this one out a little bit and I pay this one on this day, then I'm good. It's going to be maybe a little bit uncomfortable. I'm going to have some uncomfortable conversations with people. I'm going to be late on this. I'm going to be late on that. But you'll get through it.
But and generally, people are okay when you communicate with where you're at, right?
Yeah, if you
don't communicate and just not pay, well, they get the shitty, right?
Yeah, if you ring someone up, the majority of people that I've spoken to, if you just ring up and say, hey, I'm going through a bit of a shitty situation here. Before you have these conversations with people, though, it's essential you do your plan, right? So you're not feeding them with bullshit, because if you bullshit to them and you lie, they'll get the shits, and they'll sniff it out pretty quick. So you do your plan, then you have your conversation with all of these people. Hey, this is my plan. I'm going to do this on this date. I'm going to do this on this date. I've got this happening. I know it's not ideal, but look, that's all. That's what's happening. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah. So it's solution focused rather than problem focused.
Yeah, and then once you do that and you start these problems that you got in your head that you think, not in your head, but the problems that you have that in your head are massive, and it's going to adversely affect the outcome of your life, and you start a couple of those real big things that you think are really big things, and you start just dealing with them and handling them. The confidence that you get from that is fucking insane. You'll be like, shit, yeah, I've got this. But it's also you've just got to sit down and do it too. No procrastinating. Pull all of the problems out, look at them, stare them in the face, have that thing where you go, yep, this is uncomfortable, this sucks, and then just start dealing with them.
Mm-hmm. And I always teach my clients, it's all about that switching question. I get that's the negative, but what's the positive? Because out of every negative, there's always a positive, right? And what can I focus on now to keep moving towards the positive rather than the negative?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I also think I don't do that as much as I just think about what's the solution.
Mm-hmm.
How do we fix this?
But even that's a switching question, right? Because you're not focusing on the negative. You're going, how do I fix this, right? Which is a question your brain's got to answer it, right? Whenever you ask your brain a question, like if somebody asks you a question, it's very hard for you not to answer it. Right. So if I go to you, Adam, how was your day? You're going to struggle not to answer it, right?
That was good. It was really good. Yeah, I loved it.
I'm not going to tell them. Right. So your brain has to answer the question. It has to come up with an answer.
But I think it's also, if you're not used to or you're not comfortable making decisions, um, that there's confidence in making decisions, which makes this easier as well. And it's, I guess a really basic example of that is, right, and this is where sort of my mind goes with it. You're in the middle of nowhere. There's no, reception. There's no towns for ages, and your car runs out of fuel, right? Do
Mhm.
you sit and wait with your car, or do you just walk to find what you need to find
Mhm.
to fix this situation? Whereas, like, I would see the victim way of that is just sit around and waiting for somebody to come to you,
Mhm.
rather than taking control of the situation and fucking going, we need to find a jerry can. Where is it? I have no fucking idea, but we're going to find one, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
This is what we're going to do. And yeah, we're just gonna sort out the problem. And I have some people, around me, and they say, like, there's not really problems with you. Like, I've seen, there's some shit that happens to you, and you just go, all right, well, what do we got to do to get out of this?
Mm.
What are we going to do to fix this?
Yeah.
And there's like, I've had people say to me, if that was me, I'd be having, a chaos. Oh my God, freaking out. And I do have those, situations where I do that, but it
I
lasts
think you
five
have a
minutes.
lot less of them these days than what you did when I first met you.
Yeah, definitely. But it
Mm.
only lasts 5 or 10 minutes,
Yeah.
and then, okay, how are we going to fix it? How are we going to get the fuel? Where have we got to walk to? What else have we got to do? Okay, we might run out of water on the way if we're walking through the desert. How are we going to do that? And you
Mhm.
just start thinking, and I don't know.
Yeah,
You
so
just
I think the overarching kind of message is that problems will always turn up, but it's your response to the problem that makes it not a problem anymore. So it becomes a challenge, and how you respond to it, not react, respond means you're in charge. You're then solution focused, and you're working towards the solution rather than sitting in the problem. E.g., sitting in your car waiting for someone else to pick you up when you're in the desert and it's like 45 degrees.
Yeah, you're going to die in the car.
Yeah, correct.
You know,
If
you
somebody to
might die.
fire
You
you up.
might you might die walking. You're right,
Yeah.
but this is
At least
my
you do it
my
after what you want.
no. But in my mind, like, you can't kill me.
Mm.
I'll just keep coming. I'll find. There's water at the bottom of trees. I'll go dig a hole at the bottom of a tree. I'll find some water. I'll be good. I'll keep walking.
Yeah. Yeah. So I
Uh,
think, just to wrap it up on this point, though, it is all about how do you switch yourself from that negative state into a positive state, which is a switching question, or it could be planning, it could be sitting with the problem and saying, great, how do I get out of this? What do I need to do differently? What do I need to do next? What am I learning out of it? Become very inquisitive in that whole kind of thing, rather than just telling yourself it's a problem, it's a problem, it's a problem. This is this. It's all of those things where you start asking yourself better questions, which then becomes to a better result, which
yeah, and I'll just maybe add quickly on that one of the things, like, that's helpful for me in the gym is I have, like, a different persona for myself in the gym, which gets me over, the days when you're lifting heavy and you don't feel like it. Um, and part of my identity when I'm in the gym is I lift heavy weights. That's what I tell myself. I lift heavy weights. So if I stand up, the weight's coming with me.
Mhm.
And, it's similar to, when you got problems like that, and you could, not that you want to be the identify as the problem fixer for everybody and stuff all the time, but when you're in knee deep in the shit and you got to get through stuff, it's helpful saying to yourself, I fix problems,
Mhm.
or I take control of my life,
Mhm.
I do what needs to be done to get myself out of this. I make decisions to put myself in the best position that I can. Tell yourself I make the best move on the chessboard, or as I do sometimes, I piss excellence.
Mhm.
All this stuff, and you just say it may feel uncomfortable and you may feel weird, but it's helpful.
Yeah.
Once you're in the, you're in the place where you have to get through some stuff, you know, make that an identity. I'm the guy who gets through things. I'm the guy who faces up against adversity and comes out on top. That's me. I'm that
Mhm.
dude.
There you go. I think we should leave it on that, mate, because I don't think we can top that one. Mate, as always, awesome spending time with you. Looking forward to next week already. And yeah, guys, if you're in trouble and you don't know how to become solution focused, I'm sure Adam and myself will have some tips for you. Reach out and just, yeah, comment in Facebook. We'll help you out in any way we can.
You are a fucking weapon.
Exactly. I
Very
possess
good. Yeah.
it.
See you, mate.
See you, mate.
All right, blokes, that's a wrap for this episode of Blokes Unfiltered. Thanks for tuning in and joining the conversation. Remember, it's okay to talk about what's going on in your head, and there's no shame in reaching out for a bit of help when you need it. If you enjoyed the show, make sure to subscribe, rate, and leave a review wherever you get your podcasts. And don't forget to follow us on social media for updates and more no-nonsense discussions about life and mental health. Got a topic you want us to tackle? Drop us a line. We're here to listen and share. Stay strong, stay honest. Until next time, take care of yourselves and each other. This is Adam and Aaron signing off from Blokes Unfiltered. Today's podcast episode was proudly brought to you by Living Lux and the Skills for Life Academy.